Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to all of our witnesses. This is an important issue, and I echo what Senator Heinrich said about the degree of consistency among the witnesses and folks here serving. A story that I find relevant, women were not allowed to run the marathon in the Olympics until 1984. There was a belief that physically they would not be able to run it. The longest race for women in the 1980 Olympics in Moscow was a 1,500 meter, and even that was somewhat recent. It had been an 800 meter was the longest race a woman could run. Today, 30 years later, the men's world record in the marathon is 2 hours and 3 minutes, and the women's world record in the marathon is 2 hours and 15 minutes. There's an advantage to men, but that women's world record time would have won the gold record in the men's marathon during most of the history of the Olympics. And now, and this is a joke, the marathon's for wimps now, because now there's ultra marathons. One common ultra marathon event is a 2-day run, 48-hour run. Men have the edge on the track. The women's record is 370 kilometers in 2 days, and the men's record is 430 kilometers in 2 days, so if it's just a run. But there's another one that's kind of interesting to me. How fast can you through-hike the Appalachian Trail, 2,200 miles, and there's a record for doing it all on your own, not having support, having to carry everything, big backpack, carry it all. The men's record is 58 days. The woman's record is 54 days. The woman has the record for the having to carry it all. Combat and military service is different, but what this tells me is, and General Miller, you kind of talked about it, daughters raised today are going to be raised different than daughters 30 years ago. When there's a social cap or ceiling or limitation, that sort of gets absorbed by people, and they don't even focus on what they might be able to do. They get raised in a particular way with the thought that that cap is going to be there. When the cap is lifted, all of a sudden, there's all kinds of possibilities, and people start to focus on opportunities they might have and train themselves up for them. And just like when you lift the ban on running the marathon in the Olympics and allow women to do it, suddenly they're fantastic marathoners, ultra marathoners, AT hikers with packs. Parenthetically, the physiological difference in women in carrying weight leads a lot of backpack manufacturers to make different packs for women where that can actually erase some of that physiological difference. I have a high confidence in the American military and all the service branches to do this. Because you always are super can-do and you always figure it out. I mean, I have that confidence in you. And one of my kids, as some of you know, has been through ROTC and OCS and TBS and IOC with women. It's more of a norm now than an earlier generation of Marines, and he understands how hard it is for everybody, and that this will be a challenge to implement, but this is a can-do operation that's going to figure it out, and I have complete confidence in that. I'm kind of interested in the topic of standard setting, and General Howell, you talked a little bit about this. I tried to write this quickly down. You talked about, in preparing for integration of women at MOSs and studying it, you did a lot of studies of the standards, and I think you said because of our standard setting, our overall quality will be higher for men and women. I'd kind of like to ask all of you, was the standard setting that you did and analyzed around the integration question, set aside integration of women into MOSs, did it have strong independent value for your service branches to do that standard setting and analysis exercise in terms of figuring out what the right requirements for the MOSs are given the nature of contemporary warfare? And that's a question I'd like each of you to address.
The standards that we established were established on 30 September, actually before a decision was made, because we recognized as part of the analysis that whether there was going to be an exception granted or not, we needed to have a more performance-related standard. I mean, there's training, the things you did, but so we actually codified it. And so since that time, the men that have gone through infantry training battalion, armor school, artillery school, engineer school have been getting their MOS qualifications based on this standard. And the completion rate's been, 99+%. So that just goes to the overall quality of the Marine that we're getting now. So I have every confidence that if there is a female Marine out there who can meet the other standards before they come into recruit training, or what they have to do at entry-level training, at recruit training, we'll find out. We'll know. Because the females that did go through this training and get awarded the MOS, they didn't have to do this. So again, Senator, we don't know yet what we don't know, but I believe that it's something, there are things you can train to, but you have to have the physiological capability to move fast and bear a load and lift heavy weights.